Hello, everybody. I just finished doing an online Bowspring class, and I thought it would be fun to make a video today about Bowspring. You may or may not have heard me talk about this. It's an amazing movement practice that I am really loving and really enjoying these days. That is super, super different than anything that I've ever done before. And I've done a lot of movement in my life. I've been a mover my whole life. And Bowspring it's about reinstating the curves of the body and the curves of the spine and really getting into a healthy integrity in our tissues and bringing those curves back online. And for so many of us, we've lost those curves, or we've kind of taken ourselves out of those curves through more standard model practices like Pilates and a lot of different yoga practices that focus more on linearity of the body, stacking the pelvis, the chest, and the head, and in a linear way. With Bowspring, there's an acknowledgement that the rib cage and the back of the ribs is the primary curve of the body. And so if you look from the side, we have a double S curve. So we have the curve of the butt, we have the curve of the backs of the ribs, and the curve of the back of the head. And between those curves, we have a hollow in the neck and a hollow in the low back, which allows for a bowing action in the belly and a bowing action in the neck. I'm going to come closer just because I want you to be able to hear me. And so those are, that isn't like, a lot of us don't hang out with our curves because we're so used to tucking our pelvis, like straightening the front of the body and, going for like a flat belly, and a flat neck, but our neck actually likes to bow, and the muscles in the neck, like the movement this way in a bowing action, actually creates such incredible health for the neck. Same thing with the belly. The belly actually likes to bow. And so anytime you go, you shorten the back, you shorten the belly, and take the curve out of the back of the low back, you're actually creating a strain in the natural structure of your body, rather than having this bowing action that comes from the curves of the rib cage and the booty, that creates this long opening in the belly. And, so many people go for a flat belly because that's the beautiful thing. And that's all just an interesting point of view. But the amazing thing is, and this is something that I didn't, like, it took me quite a while with doing Bowspring to get to this, was that the bowing in my belly, the lengthening of the muscles and the tissue in the belly, in this bowing action has created a depth of strength in my belly that I maybe have never had in my life. And I've been very athletic my whole life, but there's a deep, deep strength in the length of the tissue. And when we contract and we shorten the tissue, if you think about your belly, like there's organs and like everything is getting compressed rather than long and open and bowing. And the amazing thing is that when you get into this bowing action in your belly, you start to have more of a waist. Like I've started to have more of a curve here, because there's this, as we lengthen the belly, we're actually moving the pelvis away from the ribs and the ribs away from the pelvis. So allowing your rib cage to float up and open, which allows the belly to lengthen. And when anything gets long, it actually gets narrower. So it'll actually give you more of a waist aesthetically. And that can take some time. And the neck as well. Like we lengthen the neck as we reinstate this hollowing, bowing action in the neck, and all of this tissue that is so tight and held in our neck, it gets lubricated. One of the things we play with in the Bowspring is fascia. We work a lot with fascia, and fascia is this really, really thin membranous tissue that is incredibly strong. And it can vary, it can go from like steel-like to gel-like. That's the spectrum of what's possible with fascia. And fascia is actually what holds our bones in place. It's what holds the structure of the body in place. So if there's any structural imbalances, which almost everybody has, the fascia actually holds that in place, and it solidifies the structure into a structure that is not actually healthy and aligned and all of those things. So when we move the body with the bowspring alignment, what we're doing is we're actually engaging and lengthening, elongating, and almost like liquefying the fascia. So there's this movement of like, where things you engage your muscles, and it's very intrinsic. There's a lot of like intrinsic strength that occurs where you engage, and engaged fascia and engaged tissue, when you move it and you sculpt it and you shape it, it actually changes a lot more rapidly than if it's not engaged. If you're just laying on a table and somebody's working on you and you're not doing anything. When you're engaging the strength, and particularly the back of the body, which is a big, Bowspring is really about reinstating the incredible strength of the back of the body to open the front of the body so that we can have way more of an open posture in all ways. When we're doing that, where everything is engaged, everything is toned, the fascia can change really quickly, which changes the shape of your body. It changes the alignment of your bones really quickly. And it can look, just to kind of give you an idea of one thing that we would do is coming onto all fours and really getting into that S curve, the double S curve of the spine, and like even just like pulsing. And as I pulse, I'm pulling my rib cage away from my pelvis, and I'm also pulling my pelvis away from my rib cage by pressuring back through my hands. I'm like dragging my hands back and my feet. And so moving in this way where my whole body's engaged right now, and I'm lengthening my belly, and I'm lengthening my neck, and I'm opening my rib cage in this pulsation. My booty is going up and back. My rib cage is on the rise. My head is lifting. My belly is bowing. My neck is bowing. And everything is toned. And as I move, I reshape and restructure my fascia and my whole body. It's been one of the most amazing things for me. It has totally changed my body. It has gotten me out of a lot of pain, and brought me into like such a different relationship with my body. I'm so grateful. So that's a little just like different kind of a video for today, different introduction to Bowspring. I actually there's a podcast on my podcast where I interviewed Desi Springer, who is the lady who had this idea in the first place, and she and John Friend brought it to the world. They've been doing it for about 13 years, I believe. And then I also have on my website, there's a Bowspring introductory class that's like a $25 introduction, because it's a very different way of moving. It takes some kind of getting into the muscle memory of it. And then I also have an 8-part series, like an online series that I did. If you live in Colorado, if you live in Boulder, I'm doing local classes. You can message me and I can add you. I have a WhatsApp chat for that. Where I announce, where my local classes are going to be. And weaving it into, like bringing it into a lot of my live classes that I do at lunch breaks and things like that. It's just so fun and it's so delicious. So that's a little bit about Bowspring, and I hope it was a contribution. Bye for now.